What's up? Brad Aiden Johnson here with an email reply, and it says weights, belts, lifting aids. Do you suggest any weightlifting aids? In your opinion, do they help or hinder your lifting? Thank you for your time. Sorry, I've been blowing up your inbox, so I've just got a lot of questions. I like questions, keep sending them. Okay, let's go through them. Let's go through some of the most obvious ones. Gloves. These are my New York gloves. They are new, but they tore immediately. You'll notice in my recent training logs, playlist here, I don't use gloves. I don't use gloves anymore. I used to use gloves to protect myself from calluses. I got a whole heap of calluses anyway. They don't work for that. All they do is, let me put them on, see how it feels, remind myself what it feels like to train in gloves. Oh, it's horrible. They just make the bar bigger, so it's harder to hold. Doesn't make much of a difference, but you know, just the material between, look at that, torn. It's terrible build quality. It just makes the bar a little bit bigger. Your grip on it will be a little bit worse, and it's no real benefit to anything. They don't protect you from calluses, but what they do is squeeze your skin. And if you do have a callus, it makes it much more likely that it will tear, because they collect your skin together. So when you go to do a heavy deadlift, all that skin will be in the same place and much more likely to you to have an injury. The only single use for a glove, I would say to anyone, don't lift with gloves. Generally, no one lifts with gloves. Throw them away. But if you have a hand injury of some description and you already have the injury, like you cut your hand or something, and the glove makes it so you're able to lift, whereas holding the bar bare makes it so you're not able to lift, use the glove until your injury has alleviated itself. Moving on. This here, I'm not going to say the colloquial name that we have for this thing. We call it the beep pad, a word for a feline. Answers on a postcard. Basically, you put this around the bar, you put it on your neck, and everything's much nicer. The only problem with this is it's a squishy surface which is liable to be uneven. So, under heavy load, this is just dangerous. What it will do is put the weight a little bit more on this side or a little bit more on that side. Minute amounts, but you only need minute amounts chronically to cause a serious back condition. So, do not use these unless you are doing an exercise which puts a lot of load in a place that is not very strong, but the actual weight isn't that heavy. For instance, something like a hyperextension, and you're doing a weight hyperextension, you'll see in my training logs that I use this, because I put the weight here, one aspect. It's not very heavy, it's like, 30 kilos on each side, being held by my hands as well. It just makes it more comfortable. Really, I'm just holding the weight. It's not like that is being applied to my spine. So I would say to you, don't use this for anything heavy, but if it's something that adds a little bit of comfort, do it. And maybe I would say don't use it chronically, but if you cut your back or something, you really can't handle the bare bar on it, then you could use this for like one training session, but really do not make a habit out of it. This is what's going to do you more harm than good in the long run. So next, wrist straps, love them. I have an incredibly weak left wrist. My right one's good, my left one's bad. I can normally get through a training session without using this, but as soon as I feel pain, wrist is done. I normally take the thumb out because that adds a bit more support than I really want. It's just to keep my wrist good. It's good for like bicep curls, and I feel bench press. When I start feeling a bit of tension there, I put these on. If you do have a problem with your wrists, don't allow a tiny joint like a wrist to mess up something massive that you need, like a bench press or a deadlift or something. Just put these on, protect yourself, protect your small joints, because they will cause a problem for you in the long run. So I would say to you, if you are in the possession, and these are cheap as hell, man. This is like £5, nothing. Go on eBay, it's cheap as hell. Just wrap them around, they're nice and easy. Get the cheapest ones you can get. Just protect your wrist. It'll just make you feel a little bit more comfortable for the remainder of your session. Use these. There's nothing negative about these. That doesn't mean put them on at the start of your session every time and assume, give your wrist a chance at becoming, developed. But without them, I would say, especially as you're starting training. But if you do develop a pain there, pain is a no-go thing. As soon as you develop pain in your wrist, and this of course is the exact same thing for, I would say, elbow straps. You don't really use elbow straps in weightlifting, but more knee straps. I don't have any knee straps, but I'm considering getting some, because my knees, I have an old knee injury. I had surgery on my knee. I had osgood-slitis, and they had to remove bits of bone and cartilage from the lump on my knee, which, I might even show you. Since you're here and I love you guys, I'll show you my scar. Okay, look. Yeah, you see that? That's my knee. You see how it's got a lump to it? Yeah? And if you look, you'll see on that line there, that's where I had my surgery. Yeah, so I'm considering getting some knee supports. I'm gonna see how it goes. But again, it's one of those things that use as needed. Don't like rely on it, because you want to just, you know, you want to go as raw as you possibly can. Which brings us neatly onto these weightlifting straps. I don't have any seatbelt ones at the moment, but I'm planning on getting some. As for these, you just put the thing through the hole, wrap it around the bar. Well, put it on your wrist first. Put it on your wrist, wrap it around the bar, ties around the bar, and it just makes your grip easier. But great for shrugs, great for deadlifts. I would say, again, with these, just like everything else, if you can get away with not using them, don't use them. It will increase your grip strength massively, which will help you in the gym, because we're here to get stronger, right? But don't let your grip ruin your deadlift or your shrug. You know, if you're doing a big movement that, you know, is important for the growth of major muscle groups, major prime movers, don't let the fact that you can't hold onto the bar mess with your gains. For instance, I always deadlift overhand until it's too heavy to pick up overhand. Then I will mix grips like that. Yeah. If it gets to the point where I'm not anywhere near this point anyway yet, but if it gets to the point where I'm deadlifting something and I really cannot hold it like that, I will throw in some wrist straps to make sure that I can hold it, so that I'm not wondering if I'm going to be able to hold this as I'm deadlifting a massive weight that I'm trying to work my glutes and my hams and, you know, my lats, etc. on, and I'm worried about my fingers grips, you know. So yeah, make sure that you have these if you need them, but don't always use them, and do as many lifts as you possibly can overhand before you really can't, then switch underhand, then do as many as you can do mixed, and then if you can't do it mixed, use the straps, but have them, they're useful. Which brings us on to this one, which is a point of bit of contention. Here is my cheap, got the cheapest one on eBay, haven't used it, haven't needed it, back support. My views on back support. There are two views that are both incorrect. One, you need this. If you don't lift with this, you're going to get back problems. You need it to protect your back. Two, if you get this, it will prevent your abs from developing, your core muscles, and you won't be able to use your core effectively, so it will prevent core strength from happening. Both of these are based in some truth, but are totally incorrect. So, should you lift with this? As you get heavy, yes you should. This is, as you're starting to approach the level of an intermediate lifter, someone that can, let's say, when you're starting to get to the point where, first look at squats and deadlifts, those are the things you're going to be using a belt for, maybe press, but let's look at squats and deadlifts. When you start getting towards 1.25, 1.5 kind of ranges of your body weight, you're gonna want a belt for support of your back and to enable you. I should explain what you do with this. I mean, let's explain. Okay, you put this on, right? Not too tight, but tight enough to feel it, notice it. This is it for me. Yeah, that's my belt on. Yeah. Now, there's some space in there, but not a lot. When I tense my abs, they feel the belt. Yeah, if I could put it on one notch tighter, and then I can't do anything without like the abdominal wall hitting this belt. This is where normally people put their belts at, yeah, and it's a little bit too tight. What it in fact does is prevent the abdominals from contracting as much as they would like. You really want to have it on so that it's just on, you just about feel it. You kind of have to feel it for yourself, and you don't want to use the belt. Don't try and contract your abs and push them against the belt. Just do everything normally, contract them in the same way you always would, and the belt, just by being there, will be utilized correctly. Don't try and physically, actively use the belt. Don't have it on too tight so that it's squeezing your abs. That's not what it does. The point in the belt is to increase, by giving the abs something to push against, they're able to contract harder, in the same way that no matter how hard I do this, it's not as much force as if a wall was there. I can push harder against a wall than I can against thin air. So like, that is nowhere near as heavy as if there actually was a wall to resist against. That's what the belt is there for, just so that the abs actually meet something to increase their pressure. By increasing pressure in this cavity here, it makes it a stronger tube. Like any column, once the pressure in here of air is inside in here is greater, it makes it a stronger column. It makes you able to perform movements better, whether they be a deadlift, a press, or a squat. That's what you use them for, and that increase of pressure makes it this entire cavity stronger, which protects this. Now, that doesn't mean to say that if you lift and you don't use a belt and you're going heavy, you're going to injure your back. That's incorrect. And it also doesn't mean, of course, doesn't mean that if you use, because it increases your strength in your ab area, makes your core stronger, it doesn't mean that using a belt is going to ruin your ab development. It's all wrong. So hopefully I've laid out some scenarios for the ways in which you should use a belt, all these lifting aids, giving you ideas on how and how not to use them. I think that's a pretty instructional information video. Yeah, if you have any queries or theories or suggestions or anything else I have not really gone into with the lifting aids, I'll do a more specific video, but hopefully that should cover more or less everything on that topic. BradleyJohnson@gmail.com. If you have any queries or theories or suggestions or anything, let me know. Other than that, like the video, like my Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and of course subscribe. Peace!